You think you're giving your kid everything you never had: more support, more emotional safety, more understanding, more freedom to express themselves. You swore you would never become the cold, distant, hypercritical parent you grew up with. So you read the books, you watched the parenting TikToks, you learned the scripts: validate the feeling, hold space, gentle correction, emotion coaching. You evolved, and yet somehow, your kid has started looking at you like you're the human version of a terms and conditions agreement. Technically safe, emotionally exhausting. Because here's the uncomfortable truth nobody warns parents about. Some of the parenting habits that look the healthiest from the outside quietly create emotional distance on the inside. Not because you're toxic, not because you're abusive, but because modern parenting sometimes confuses emotional awareness with emotional effectiveness. And your kid feels the difference before you do. These are the 7 signs it's happening. Number 1, your support became pressure in disguise. You think you're the low-pressure parent, the healthy one, the I don't care about perfection, I just want you to try your best parent. But your child hears something completely different. They hear, I must constantly prove that I'm trying hard enough for love to remain stable. Because children don't understand vague emotional expectations. Adults romanticize ambiguity. Kids panic inside it. When you say, just do your best, your child immediately starts mentally interrogating themselves. What counts as best? How do I know when I've reached it? What happens if my best changes? What if my best still disappoints them? Kids crave emotional clarity more than motivational speeches. A strict parent says, get an A. A vague supportive parent says, I just want you to reach your potential. One creates pressure. The other creates existential pressure with softer lighting. And here's the part that hurts. You probably don't even realize your nonverbal reactions are betraying you. You say grades don't matter, but your face tightens slightly when they bring home a lower score. You say effort matters most, but you become noticeably warmer when they succeed. Kids study micro-expressions like survival skills. They notice everything. The pause before your response, the fake smile, the tiny sigh you thought you hid. Over time, your child stops chasing achievement for themselves. They start chasing emotional safety through performance. Not because you're cruel, because they're wired to protect connection. And that emotional pressure slowly transforms into anxiety disguised as ambition, which leads directly into sign number 2. Number 2, you overshare because you want honesty. Modern parents are terrified of emotional distance. They treat their child like a tiny, emotionally available roommate with excellent listening skills and no legal ability to leave the conversation. You vent about work stress, money stress, marriage tension, family drama, your anxiety, your burnout, your fears about the future. You call it transparency. Your child experiences it as emotional responsibility. There's a massive difference between honesty and emotional outsourcing. Children should understand emotions exist. They should not feel responsible for stabilizing yours. The moment your child starts monitoring your mood before expressing their own feelings, the relationship quietly flips upside down. Now they aren't just being a child anymore. They're becoming your emotional weather forecaster. Is mom stressed today? Is dad in a bad mood? Should I wait to ask? Will this upset them? Can they handle my emotions right now? That is not emotional intelligence. That is survival adaptation. And children who emotionally monitor parents too early often stop expressing themselves honestly altogether, because they learn something dangerous. My feelings create stress for people I love, so they shrink them. They become the easy child, the mature one, the independent one, the child everyone praises because they never cause problems. Meanwhile, internally, they're carrying emotional weight their nervous system was never designed to hold. And eventually that emotional shutdown becomes the next sign. Number 3, you're so calm it feels emotionally distant. You mastered the gentle parenting voice. Your child is having a full emotional breakdown, and you're standing there sounding like a meditation app, narrating a forest documentary. I understand you're experiencing some very big feelings right now. Meanwhile, your child is emotionally screaming, okay, but are you feeling anything? Parents confuse emotional regulation with emotional flatness all the time. Kids don't need you to lose control, but they do need to feel emotionally met. And emotionally met does not mean emotionally analyzed. Sometimes kids don't want a therapist. They want a human, someone whose face reacts, someone who sounds real, someone who emotionally joins them for a second before guiding them back down. Because calmness without warmth can feel eerily disconnected, especially to children. Your child doesn't interpret your perfect emotional control as wisdom. Sometimes they interpret it as emotional absence, like you're observing them instead of joining them. Real emotional safety isn't built through perfect scripts. That really hurt, huh? I get why you're upset. Honestly, I'd cry too if my entire Lego city exploded. That feels human. Children trust humanity more than perfection. And when kids stop feeling emotional resonance from parents, they slowly stop bringing emotions to them at all, which opens the door to sign number 4. Number 4, you confuse boundaries with rejection. A huge number of parents today are terrified their child will feel emotionally rejected. So instead of holding boundaries confidently, they negotiate every limit like international peace treaties. One more snack, one more hour, one more show, one more sleepover, one more exception. And every no feels emotionally loaded. Because deep down you're afraid boundaries damage closeness. But children don't experience consistent boundaries as rejection. They experience them as structure. Predictability calms nervous systems. Inconsistency destabilizes them. Kids can emotionally survive disappointment. What they struggle with is unpredictability. When rules constantly change based on your guilt, exhaustion, or emotional state, children stop trusting the structure itself. Now they have to test constantly. What version of my parent am I getting today? Strict, tired, guilty, emotionally vulnerable, easy to manipulate? And children become anxious in environments where emotional rules feel unstable. Boundaries aren't punishments. They're emotional guardrails. Your child doesn't need unlimited access to comfort. They need confidence someone strong is steering the ship. And when parents avoid boundaries to preserve connection, they usually create the opposite. Because children stop respecting emotional leadership they can emotionally overpower. Which creates the next problem. Number 5, you rescue too quickly. Your child forgets homework. You drive it to school immediately. They argue with a friend. You intervene. They panic over assignments. You start solving it for them. You think you're helping. Your child learns something completely different. I cannot survive discomfort without external rescue. Parents today are accidentally eliminating every tiny frustration childhood was supposed to teach resilience through. But resilience isn't taught through lectures. It's built through recoverable struggle. Forgetting lunch once teaches memory. Failing a test teaches preparation. Social conflict teaches communication. Boredom teaches creativity. But constant rescue interrupts the learning cycle before growth happens. And here's the hidden damage. Children who are rescued too often stop trusting themselves. Because confidence does not come from being protected from difficulty. Every inconvenience you remove becomes one less opportunity for your child to discover, oh, I can actually handle hard things. Discomfort is not always damage. Sometimes it's training. And when children never build internal capability, they become emotionally dependent on external regulation, which quietly weakens parental authority too. Because now you're no longer viewed as a guide. You're viewed as customer support, which leads perfectly into sign number 6. Number 6, you're trying too hard to be liked. This one is brutal because it usually comes from love. You didn't want your child to fear you the way you feared your parents, so you overcorrected toward friendship. You became the cool parent, the understanding parent, the emotionally available parent. And slowly, authority started dissolving into negotiation. Now your child talks to you like you're a peer with access to transportation. Because friendship and parenting are not the same role. Friendship is built on equality. Parenting requires leadership. Children need warmth, but they also need hierarchy. Not dictatorship, not fear. Leadership. And the moment children sense you need their approval emotionally, the balance shifts instantly. Now they learn they can emotionally influence the structure itself. Rules become negotiable. Consequences become emotional discussions. Boundaries become guilt contests. And eventually the child stops feeling guided. They start feeling emotionally in charge, which sounds empowering until anxiety enters the picture. Because children do not actually want to lead the emotional structure of the home. They want someone stable enough to lead it for them. Kids feel safest when parents can tolerate temporary disappointment without collapsing emotionally. And finally, the last sign. Number 7, you think love alone fixes everything. You love your child deeply. That's obvious. You validate, you comfort, you support, you listen, you care. But love without structure creates emotional chaos surprisingly fast, because children do not automatically translate love into safety. Sometimes they translate it into lack of consequences. And when consequences disappear, emotional reality becomes distorted. Now frustration feels unfair, limits feel personal, discomfort feels damaging, accountability feels rejection-based. Children need unconditional love, but they also need conditional reality. Actions matter, choices matter, behavior matters, not because love disappears, because life works that way. The healthiest parents understand something difficult. Your job is not to protect your child from every uncomfortable emotion. Your job is to teach them uncomfortable emotions are survivable, that disappointment won't destroy them, that frustration won't define them, that boundaries aren't abandonment, that consequences are not proof they are unloved. Because someday, the world will not emotionally regulate itself around your child. And if they never learn structure at home, adulthood hits like a truck with Wi-Fi. But here's the hopeful part in all this. None of these signs mean you're failing. In fact, the parents most likely to accidentally create these patterns are usually the ones trying the hardest to love well. The issue isn't your intention. It's the invisible habits hiding inside it. And the beautiful thing about awareness is this. The moment you can see a pattern, you can change it. Your child does not need a flawless parent. They need a parent willing to self-correct. A parent who can say, I got that wrong. I didn't realize how that affected you. I'm learning too. That kind of humility heals more than perfection ever could. Because children don't remember whether you followed every parenting trend correctly. They remember whether your love felt emotionally safe, emotionally honest, and emotionally steady. And if you recognized yourself anywhere in this video, that's not condemnation.